story. Apparently, palace officials have been trying their hardest to strip Harry of his titles, but Charles.
Yeah, I agree.
So we are in total agreement. They are very dependent.
Imagine if from the moment the jet touched down on the Heathrow tarmac, the whispers started spreading like static in the air. It wasn't because Prince Harry was scheduled to arrive. He wasn't. It wasn't because anyone expected him back in the UK. No one did. And it certainly wasn't because he had announced anything. He hadn't. What made airport staff freeze mid-step, what made every camera swing around like a weather vane in a storm, was something far simpler. Harry wasn't supposed to be here. Not today. Not this week. Not at all.
Have been bumped down the pecking order when you go to the web.
Yet there he was, hood up, shoulders tight, moving with the urgent, clipped stride of a man who had just received a phone call he hoped would never come. And that's where the story swerves straight into chaos. 4 days, the rumor mill surrounding the royal household had been spinning wildly, fed by whispers of something unusual unfolding behind closed doors. People close to the palace were dropping cryptic hints, little lines like, "Something big is coming," or, "Watch the titles, that's all I'll say." And as always, the moment royal watchers get a single breadcrumb, the internet somehow ends up with an entire loaf. Then the chatter escalated. A leak, a whisper, a message passed from insider to insider until it finally reached the press in the form of a forward shockwave, secret strip order drafted. That's when the speculation detonated. Online, on talk shows, across tabloids, everyone was asking the same breathless questions. Strip what? Strip who? And why in secret? Some insisted it was about titles, others claimed it involved security privileges, and a few suggested something far more unprecedented. But the palace stayed silent. No statements, no clarifications, not even the usual stiff denial. Just a silence so deliberate it practically thundered. And then, right in the middle of that silence, Harry's plane appeared.
It's my favourite source for royal news, and quite right, not that we're biased. Harry said in his BBC interview that he was forced to step away from royal duty due to security concerns.
That's when speculation exploded into a full-blown hurricane, because Harry has been keeping a very deliberate distance from the UK. Ever since stepping down from royal duties, he has treated London like a city filled with landmines, every appearance carefully measured, every visit brief, every departure immediate. But this time was different. There was no charity event on the schedule, no Invictus commitment, no looming court date pulling him back. This wasn't business. This was personal. And anyone watching him stride across that tarmac could see it. Something had shaken him. Almost instantly, people online began stitching clues together. What if the rumored strip order was about his remaining royal privileges? What if the palace had finally decided to act on consequences whispered about for years but never enforced? And if that was true, why now? Why suddenly? Why in silence? Meanwhile, the palace only fueled the frenzy by doing what it always does when trouble brews, tightening the circle, shutting the doors, and refusing to comment. It was almost as if the thick stone walls of Buckingham Palace were leaning in, clutching their secrets with both hands.
Meghan of their royal titles. The New York Post is reporting that locals in the UK say enough is enough, especially after Prince Harry's disastrous BBC interview, which...
But not everyone inside was so careful, and soon whispers began leaking from those who love to talk off the record. They claimed there had been a tense, closed-door meeting involving senior courtiers, top advisors, and a few very familiar royal figures, discussing what they called the next phase of distancing the monarchy from the ongoing Sussex drama. That phrase alone sent commentators into a frenzy. Next phase implied there had already been several. And just like that, a theory took shape. Harry wasn't rushing back because he wanted to, he was rushing back because he had no choice. As he stepped out of the terminal, trying and failing to dodge the cameras determined to track his every move through the London fog, the tension in his expression said enough. A man doesn't leap onto a transatlantic flight with no warning unless someone, somewhere, has pulled a very serious alarm. Meanwhile, back in Montecito, things reportedly felt strained. Meghan had been seen leaving the house just hours before the story broke, but once the media caught wind of Harry's sudden flight, she disappeared from view. No statements, no comments, no casual strolls, just silence. And for a couple usually so precisely choreographed and hyper-aware of public timing, silence was its own message.
They're Prince Harry and the Duchess of Montecito.
Royal commentators instantly split into two fierce camps. One side argued that the palace had finally begun the process of removing Harry and Meghan's remaining titles, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. The other insisted the situation was far more urgent, focusing instead on their children's royal titles. And that possibility is what ignited the internet like gasoline meeting a match. Within hours, social media was drowning in theories, thousands of posts filled with screenshots, old interview clips, body language breakdowns, timelines, side-by-side comparisons of past statements, and of course, the royal watchers' favorite pastime, overanalyzing every vague palace update they could find. But then came the detail that made the world sit up a little straighter. Insiders insisted the alleged strip order wasn't unanimous. There were disagreements, quiet, tense, internal. Not everyone believed going nuclear was the right move, and whispers suggested that subtle lobbying had been happening behind the scenes. Quiet, discreet, strategic. If there was division, the question became obvious. Who was on which side? That wasn't just the million-pound question, it was the billion-click question. Some pointed toward senior royals exhausted by the endless media storms surrounding the Sussexes. Others suggested certain advisors were pushing for a clean break, arguing the monarchy needed to shield itself ahead of upcoming coronation anniversaries and major public events. And then there were those warning the exact opposite, that stripping titles could backfire in spectacular fashion. All this chaos unfolded against the backdrop of Harry's unexpected arrival. As he slipped into a waiting black vehicle with tinted windows so dark they might as well have been painted on, the city felt electrically charged. Londoners nearby were already texting, tweeting, live streaming, and the moment the car pulled away, you could practically hear reporters sprinting to keep up. For the rest of the day, one question hung in the air like a storm cloud. Would Harry go straight to the palace? Would he meet the king privately? Was he here to negotiate or to fight? Every outlet had a theory, but none had confirmation, and that's what made the silence so deafening. Because when a royal returns unannounced, when the palace refuses to comment, and when insiders whisper about secret orders, it means only one thing: something major is unfolding behind the scenes. And whatever this was, it was only the beginning. By the time Harry's car melted into London traffic, speculation had erupted into a frenzy, reporters chasing shadows, helicopters circling, social media vibrating with the hashtag strip order exploding in minutes as commentators, both seasoned and unhinged, lined up to deliver their takes. Some insisted Harry had come to demand answers. Others said he was racing to stop something already in motion, and a few claimed he hadn't even known about the situation until the very last second, suggesting someone inside the palace had intentionally kept him in the dark. And if that were true, it explained the panic, the urgency, the look on his face at the airport. Meanwhile, palace courtiers performed their usual crisis choreography, soft voices, lowered eyes, disappearing into side corridors whenever journalists inched too close. They weren't speaking publicly, but privately? Oh, they were talking. And that's how another rumor leaked. The king had been advised to act sooner rather than later. Sooner for what? No one could say for sure, but the phrasing alone, calm, deliberate, ominous, made everyone lean in. Royal watchers dove into every legal nuance surrounding titles. Some argued that since Harry and Meghan had stepped back, their ducal titles could technically be removed by Parliament if the pressure mounted. Others countered that stripping titles would be unprecedented in the modern era, though not impossible. And then came the push that escalated everything. Reports that Prince William had raised long-term stability concerns during high-level discussions. The phrase echoed through every newspaper like a warning siren. Some interpreted it emotionally, others politically, a few financially, but all roads led to the same conclusion. William was deeply worried about the monarchy's image. The interviews, the documentaries, the lawsuits, the accusations, the memoir, the relentless tug-of-war in the press, it all added up. According to several insiders, William believed the institution couldn't keep absorbing blow after blow and still function effectively. He wanted clarity. He wanted boundaries. And if the whispers were true, he was now pushing for those boundaries to be enforced.
Prince William is planning to strip Harry and Meghan of their royal titles when he ascends to the throne.
And when William pushes, courtiers listen. That was the moment the narrative shifted from curiosity to genuine alarm. Commentators began saying openly what had only been whispered in private, that William had become the family's anchor, strategist, and long-term planner, and that he was no longer willing to let the Sussex drama overshadow the monarchy's next era. But then came the twist that sent the conversation spiraling even further. Another leak suggested the supposed strip order wasn't a single document at all, but a collection of contingencies, multiple drafts, multiple versions, multiple pathways depending on how Harry and Meghan behaved moving forward. In other words, the palace was preparing for every possible outcome. That was the detail that made people gasp, the detail that glued royal analysts to their screens, the detail that made Harry's sudden arrival look less like a visit and more like a crisis response. Meanwhile, back in Montecito, things were reportedly no calmer. Meghan was said to have instructed her team to prepare statements for every scenario, fueling theories that she expected something massive to break. Some claimed she was gearing up for legal action, others said she was preparing for a public relations battle, and a few insisted she was preparing for both. But what truly shocked social media was the rumor that Meghan had reacted with disbelief and fury at the idea that the palace might act without informing her. That rumor led to the question no one wanted to say out loud. Did Harry even know before today? Because if Meghan was blindsided, then Harry might have been too. And that possibility made everything feel even more dramatic. Think about it. What would it mean if Harry learned about a threat to his family's royal titles not from the palace, not from relatives, but from someone completely outside the inner circle? It would explain the urgency, the solo arrival, the unsettled look on his face. And then came another twist. An insider hinted that the palace's concern wasn't just titles but also precedence, protocol, and representation, meaning they feared the Sussexes were still benefiting from royal association while publicly criticizing the institution. In simple terms, they wanted to end the contradictions. As those whispers spread, royal historians jumped in, citing examples from the past when royals who clashed with the crown's interests were quietly sidelined or stripped of privileges. That historical context made observers realize something chilling. If the palace wanted to strip Harry and Meghan of their HRH status, there was precedent to support such a move. But the detail that truly gripped the world was the mention of Harry's children. Archie and Lilibet's princely status had always sparked debate, but removing it would be monumental, global headline, years-long conversation monumental, and that possibility was what many feared the palace was weighing. By midday, analysts noted how unusual it was that King Charles hadn't appeared, commented, or released so much as a gentle clarification. His absence only intensified the belief that something major was unfolding behind the scenes. Meanwhile, Harry's movements became a minute-by-minute obsession. Some swore he went straight to Clarence House, others claimed he had been driven to Windsor, a few insisted a private car slipped through a side gate at Kensington Palace, though no photo ever confirmed it. That secrecy made the entire day feel like a political thriller. And just when it seemed things couldn't get any stranger, the next rumor dropped.
Formulating a plan to finally strip Prince Harry and Meghan Markle of their HRH titles.
A source claimed that Harry had requested a private meeting with his father immediately, prompting courtiers to scramble to adjust the king's schedule. The wording was vague, but the implication was clear. Whatever Harry needed to discuss could not wait. By early evening, commentators began pointing out what they'd been skirting all day. Harry looked like a man pushed to his absolute limit, overwhelmed, exhausted, struggling to comprehend how far the situation had spiraled. And honestly, who could blame him? Anyone caught between the palace, the press, the public, and Meghan's expectations would be stretched to breaking point. Add the possibility that his children's status could be affected, and it's enough to make anyone crumble. As the sun set over London, the atmosphere grew heavier by the minute. Buckingham Palace remained silent. Kensington Palace remained silent. Sussex representatives remained silent. Everyone held their breath, and in that vacuum, the smallest details took on outsized significance. A palace gate lingering open longer than usual, a senior aide pacing on the phone across the courtyard, guards more alert than normal. Royal watchers read meaning into everything. Some believed Harry and the king were meeting at that very moment, others thought William was involved, some imagined Meghan frantically calling from Montecito, while others speculated that lawyers were already engaged or that the strip order had been signed. Nobody knew, yet everyone speculated. And then came the final rumor of the night, a shockwave that practically shook the internet. A source claimed the palace was planning an announcement. Not immediately, not tonight, but very soon. An announcement that would finally clarify the monarchy's position moving forward. Those few words sent royal media into a frenzy, because palace announcements never arrive lightly, and when they do, after a day like this, they almost always carry consequences.
The Duke of Sussex, or Duke and Duchess of Sussex, I just find it very uncomfortable, and I think a huge number of your viewers would agree, that you either respect the system.
Well, that's what you said, Jack.
Yeah, I agree.
So we are in total agreement. They are very dependent on each other.
By the end of the night, one thing was undeniable. Something had shifted. Something big. Something irreversible. Harry hadn't returned voluntarily. The palace wasn't sitting quietly. And whatever happens next could reshape the royal landscape in ways we haven't seen in decades. As London settled under the night sky, one question echoed across every corner, from commentators, fans, critics, and casual observers alike. When the palace speaks, what exactly will they say? If you want to stay on top of every update, theory, and royal revelation as it unfolds, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss a moment of the drama.